What you're seeing Donald Trump use is something that I choose to call reverse psychology. Not just Donald Trump, but really, let's look at the media. Because when people say the establishment hates Trump and they cite media examples, first of all, let's start here. Bill O'Reilly. This is not a friend of Muslims. This is not a friend to the people of the Middle East. This is a person that we've seen seething with anger, just like Glenn Beck, pro-torture. And we know that torture doesn't work, and we know that many innocent people have been tortured to death in some cases. And so when you see people that are against Trump, but have all been about pro-torture and pro-invasion, I see a sleight-of-hand card trick. In no way do I believe Donald Trump is a 9/11 truther, or that he really is against these wars of aggression. Not when you marginalize Syrian immigrants and say that at least 1 in 4 has spoken of an interest to commit terror attacks against the United States. Listen, logic is out the window. Why do some of you believe such things? Where have the real genuine terror attacks been since 9/11? Now, for those of you that think that 9/11 was caused by Arabs and Persians, but yet you're for Donald Trump, are you not familiar with Alex Jones and Donald Trump together doing this whole Trump is a truther? If Trump is elected, he's going to bring out the 9/11 files. If Trump is elected, Trump and Putin are going to be good buddies. That's another spoonful of bullshit. If Trump is placed into power, and I say placed into power, he will carry out the World War III agenda, and there will be riots in America and civil unrest from all those people that didn't vote for Donald Trump. Listen, I understand there's a lot of people that have chosen to associate themselves with just white, even though you're more than that. You're more than your name, okay? Don't limit yourself. But don't tell me that they haven't tried to turn race against race. You can have Hispanic Trump supporters. You can have black Trump supporters. There's a lot of minorities out there in this country that want to go along to get along, and you will see them also supporting Obama. You will see them also supporting Bush. I've seen Afghan people support Bush. Afghan people from Afghanistan. That's right. I've seen them support Obama. I've seen them support Bush and then Obama, just to support the main candidate of the moment, so they don't be the nail that stands out, be the first one to get hit. So there's a subconscious motivation why some minorities will get behind these strong forces, because ultimately they're afraid. This isn't just about trade and jobs. I can tell you about China and the trade deficit. I'll make a point about that briefly. Donald Trump uses buzzwords that people get off hearing. And it's set up by design for Donald Trump to be the only person to talk about the trade deficit. The only person to talk about China. Well, I've also been blogging about China and this coming world war for years. But not from a genuine, oh, we got to take them on. We have to, be friends with them. Either or. China is a draconian, tyrannical government that the West has been supporting for a long time, since Mao Zedong. And the same could be said about Russia. So when we talk about these foreign governments, at the same time talk about the New World Order, you got to see the New World Order's hand in all this. So what they've done is they've taken control over the liberty movement, conspiracy research community. Years ago, people talk about the New World Order and the Illuminati, and now it's like the cat's out of the bag. People are now researching New World Order. They're aware of certain things. They're aware of certain things like 9/11. But yet they're not intelligent or intuitive enough to realize that Trump is a part of that establishment. Reverse psychology. Cutting to the chase. So you have some parents raising their kid, and they tell their kid, don't drink that soda, don't eat that food, don't hang out with this person, don't go out with that girl, don't go out with that boy. And what happens? The daughter jumps on the back of that motorcycle with that boy. And what I see is the establishment actually promoting Trump in this way by creating a reverse psychology system. The establishment hates Trump, and George Soros is behind everything. George Soros is not the mastermind, ladies and gentlemen, of the global mafia New World Order. This distorted, diluted Alex Jones worldview, and being a supporter of Alex Jones for nearly a decade, hell, I was supporting him while some of you were still in diapers. I am 36, by the way, even though I do look younger. So when I got involved in this stuff at the age of 22 and handed out Alex Jones DVDs and videotapes to my closest friends and associates, started my own Access TV show, talking about the police state control grid and bullhorning about 9/11 in the streets. I know what it means to actually be against the establishment. I know what it means to actually research the New World Order and not be a Johnny-come-lately just getting into this in 2009 or 10. I was in this after 9/11. I know what it's like to be of a mixed racial background and to actually come across people that will look at me once, twice, 3 times, trying to figure out if I'm friend or foe. And people like Donald Trump and the direction that Alex Jones has taken has only amplified racial tensions. Alex Jones is not the same Alex Jones that he used to be. And so when you see a network of people that are working together to co-sign each other's bullshit, and by the way, where was Donald Trump years ago when Alex Jones was more legitimate, when he seemed more human, when he was more on fire? He might have been a sociopath behind the scenes, bullhorning the Austin Gun Show and telling people that 90% of us are going to die like every 5 minutes. But there was still more life force and charisma. And having met Alex Jones several times, he just kind of walk into the room with a big presence and a big aura. Seen him bullhorn the Dallas Fed in 2011. I was there for that as well, filming right up front, only a few feet away from Alex. Also interviewed him a few times. So I know what Alex Jones was like years ago and how he would also talk to his fans. And I know what he's like now. He's gone deeply into the dark side. Inner Donald Trump. So, you know, when you see Alex Jones go, Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar, woman, I rip up your dress, I rape you. I archived that clip. This was right after the Donald Trump thing. I'm going to get back to Trump. What I see Alex Jones doing is showing the establishment he does serve it. And in a way, he's kamikaze. He is self-destructing. Alex Jones could also be partially possessed, but that's not the subject of this video. He's going to get the benefit of the doubt that he knows exactly what he's doing. And he's more intelligent than and he's exposed a lot of false flag stuff, only to turncoat and start seething with anger. In a day and age where people are joking about sniping Syrian refugees, notice how these Syrians are like this ultimate scapegoat for all of America's problems. Do you realize how sick this is? So if Donald Trump's the only person talking about China and trade, and they're getting people to chant, build the wall, so one day we're in prison within America, because even Ron Paul said that. And I've said that for years. If they actually ever do start building a wall, it's to keep Americans in. It's to keep Americans in. So, all this bullshit about the establishment hating Trump is bullshit. He's friends with Hillary, but that doesn't mean he's going to throw the election to Hillary. Don't assume that this whole thing is set up for Hillary to win. We know things go Democrat, Republican, Democrat, Republican, Democrat, Republican. Let me know in the comment section how many of you have your cognitive function aligned enough to notice that there's a Republican, Democrat alteration, and yet the agenda continues. The Republicans may have a more fascist stance. The Democrats may seem to have a more socialist stance. The agenda of Middle Eastern conquest continues. Again, notice the fake compassion. Obama's not a Muslim. If he was a Muslim, he wouldn't be committing drone attacks in the Middle East where 9 out of 10 of those killed are civilians. They're not even terrorists. Do you realize that? 9 out of 10 civilians. Oh yeah, that's a Muslim, all right. So we've seen these false conspiracy scapegoat arguments rise. So instead of censoring the information about the Illuminati and the New World Order and the two-party state, you pollute it. Oh yes, there's a conspiracy. It's Obama the Muslim, as if Bush didn't start this stuff years ago, as if Clinton himself wasn't in dirty dealings with the Chinese, as if Carter himself wasn't in dirty dealings with internationalists, as if Reagan himself didn't do his part to help build up a domestic police state with this drug war. Oh no, no, no! It's just Obama the Muslim, Allah Akbar! I mean, and you're dealing with a hardcore level of mind control where people are acting like they've forgotten about vote fraud. You know, they've forgotten about all this Federal Reserve stuff. You know, I don't hear Trump talking about the Federal Reserve. I don't hear Trump talking about the surveillance society. If anything, a lot of people woke up a few months ago when they saw Alex Jones promoting the ultimate police state candidate. The ultimate police state candidate. Okay? Now, a lot of those minorities that you see at Trump rallies, subconsciously, they're drawn to be with the wolf pack because they can feel this, whether they identify it to be fascist or not, they identify that there is a mass drum beating around that candidacy. And it is either join us or be against us. And when you watch people, and I'm not for the communists or the people that are sitting there wasting their time screaming at the Trump protesters that are all emotional and, you know, ready to get into a fist fight. This is by design. This is manufactured civil unrest. And when you see the Alex Jones channel promoting Trump protester after Trump protester, they're trying to ignite a wildfire of civil unrest, social unrest, fighting in the streets, arguing, raising one's voice. I'm right, you're wrong. If you're not with us, you're communists. If you're not with us, you're Sanders supporters. And I'll also say there's some racist things that have been left on my channel, not by Trump supporters, but by Sanders supporters. There's actually some, you wouldn't think, but then again, I don't trust Sanders. I don't trust any of them. So folks, I got to remind you, these are your roots. Your roots, if you consider yourself to be a liberty person, it's not just getting behind Trump in the same way the left got behind Obama, because absolutely I see a Coke, Pepsi mirror, blue, red, Crip blood, Doritos, Lay's, potato chips. Two sides of the same thing. I see Obama in Trump, and I see Trump in Obama. And I also am in shock that more people don't see this. It's not a good sign for consciousness. In fact, it's a sign of some really bad times ahead. With regards to civil unrest, people fighting the streets, and all of it being controlled. Every single bit of it. Including, and now we have this understanding, this missing puzzle piece. Many of us for years wondered why Alex Jones had this level of support and why they never really went after him. And we couldn't really figure out, well, it seems like most of this is true and that he's warning us against something. And I'm thinking, you know, one thing that could be possible is that he is receiving large payments from the Russian government and that Alex Jones is in place for the World War III scenario. And he may actually be giving marching orders to his listeners and Americans to go fight the enemy, to take part in the conflict, instead of preventing the conflict and exposing that the coming stage world war is staged. There is no left-right. There is no east-west. There is one new world order creating a staged war to then create a transhumanistic population after they build the order out of chaos, after they rebuild the new high-tech world with self-driving cars and microchips and everything else. After they cause the crisis, they will bring the people to their knees and offer them a solution. Alex Jones is set to play a huge role in that. Vladimir Putin and China are set to play a huge role in this. And so, I believe, is Donald Trump. And it's not by accident that Trump was in The Simpsons more than once, just like Schwarzenegger, who was first in The Simpsons before going into office. Talk about The Simpsons in the 9/11 magazine. Okay, the establishment hates Trump. Trump on The Simpsons. Trump during a time where a lot of people lost their jobs. Yelling at Americans, yelling at people on television, you're fired. You're fired. I remember looking at that when I was out of work in 2003, going, who the fuck is this jackass? Well, I know who Donald Trump is, but who the fuck does he think he is? You're fired, you're fired. At a time where a lot of us got fired. After 9/11, the economy was shit until 2004 and 5. And then went through another cycle after 2009. Some believe we're about to go into another. I will say that some areas in America are recovering as far as their jobs. And the general area that I'm at now has way more jobs than Alamosa. The establishment hates Trump. You know what? They said the same thing about Ron Paul. And when the establishment hated Ron Paul, they didn't give Ron Paul ample airtime. They cut him off at 2 minutes. They cut him off at 3 minutes. Donald Trump, every time I log on to YouTube, I log on to Facebook, I log on to the internet. I go to a website. I can go to Rents.com that used to cover genuine conspiracy stuff. Half it now is white supremacist stuff. Muslims are going to rape you, and Donald Trump, and they're going together like bread and butter. And people are saying, no, 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 he just wants to get the terrorists. And then you see Trump say, well, I don't know where they're from, but we know if they're coming in. What do you mean you don't know where they're from? One day you're saying that maybe there's more to 9/11, and then the next you're worried about the Syrian immigrants, but you won't talk about the destabilization. You won't talk about this military-industrial complex. Apparently there were buzzwords that he said in the past. It's one thing to say buzzwords and say you're against something and go on CNN. Again, if the establishment hates you, why are you on CNN? If you're not an agent of the system, remember Hal Turner? Even Hal Turner was given time by CNN. Because Hal Turner was a government informant. Just like Mark Hessler. Without digressing and talking about the informants over at Burns, Oregon, and notice how there are people that think that thing in Burns, Oregon was legitimate, that Pete Santilli is legitimate, that Alex Jones, that Donald Trump are legitimate. People have lost their shit. You want to know what it looks like when the establishment hates a candidate? You look at what happened to Ron Paul. But even in that situation, and I supported Ron Paul in 2008, I supported Ron Paul in 2012, but I didn't look the other way when the information came out that there are Romney family members working for the Paul campaign and vice versa. And then Jesse Benton married to Ron Paul's daughter. What he did at Paul Fest, which I went to in 2012 at the RNC, telling delegates and people, don't have anything to do with Paul Fest. That's grassroots. That's not Ron Paul endorsed. Jesse Benton then went to work for McDonald, Republican neocon, and Ron Paul, as friendly as he is, as trustworthy as he seemed to be, to help his son Rand, he promoted and brought out on the stage in Austin, Texas, summer of 2012, none other than Ted Cruz. And I saw Ted Cruz come out. I recognize the leprechaun clone demon child that he was. And I was going around, everybody going, you know, this guy Ted Cruz, this guy's not one of us. And it pissed some people off because they didn't want the truth. It's like Cruz saying, I want the truth. Nicholson saying, you can't handle the truth. Well, it is like that. A lot of people can't handle the truth. But that toxic drink of warm Pepsi is going to rot their teeth. It's not going to bring them eternal life. And if they keep drinking that rancid nonsense, it's going to suck the health right out of them. With Trump, people are being programmed. You're either with us or you're against us. You're either with us or you're against us. You're either with us or you're with Obama. What kind of fucking Bush talk is this? Do you understand what I'm saying? People have adopted George Bush's language. You're either with us or against us. So did the Obama crowd. So I think that Trump is their establishment. It's very possible that vote fraud will get him in. And then a couple years down the line, things are going to ramp up. China could easily be blamed for all of America's economic problems. And I've talked about this years ago before Trump was even on the stage. Instead of America actually dealing with its debt, it'll go to war to fix that debt. And it's a war that America is not positioned to win in the end. At least not right away. Joel Skousen believes that we could see a world coalition come together, NATO and the US come together, Europe and the United States, to fight China, Russia, and their enemies, to then emerge with a new world order after that, which I speculate could bring the self-driving cars, could bring the microchips, can bring the additional surveillance, could bring the birth of the smart cities that are being built, like in Singapore, artificial intelligence cities, surveillance everywhere, knows everything about you, what you're thinking, what you're gonna buy. It's the ultimate technological social engineering playhouse. And so it seems like that is the world that is being created for tomorrow. The order out of the ashes. Right now I see sabotage at every level to bring down the United States to its knees. I see no attempt by any of the candidates at all to really deal with the issues that plague us, to really call out the military-industrial complex, to really call out those corporations that have allowed the blueprints to be sent to China, the weapons. I mean, getting specific. Trump doesn't get specific because people are already looking at China and they are already surpassing the U.S. in GDP. Somebody's got to be on stage to go, China, 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 but not actually discuss the stage-managed plans for World War III, in which the U.S. is not positioned to be the victor. And I think this is coming after the 2020s. And we could see Trump, then even Hillary perhaps, if this mirrors the Simpsons episode. People gotta understand, I care about people. And just because Americans, some of them in military, have committed horrific war crimes against others, I don't want to see them also hurt. I want to warn them that there is a plan to stage this war, to turn brother against brother, sister against sister. Before they do that, they need to have as much civil unrest as possible. So we're weakened by design because we're fighting each other. And to me, that's what Alex Jones is playing into. We should be talking about how do we fix our economies locally and create our own jobs. We should not be looking for government handouts. We should not be looking at a president or anyone to fix our problems for us. This is welfare mentality. You don't have to actually take welfare for the government to have welfare mentality, to have status mentality. We need to come together even across racial lines. There's a reason why they want you scared to death and pissing your pants and literally pooping your pants about this thing called white genocide and not realizing there's something about us that's more similar than different. And with that, I'll close. Donald Trump, in reality, is being supported by the establishment, and they're using reverse psychology to seal the deal.